Hello, this is On Imagination, Wing of the Abstract. So I'm thinking about shit and I'm hypothesizing and I'm trying to put some things into perspective. Today's one of those days where I can just feel the energy burning. And it's like there are some days where it's a pushing through and just like endurance days. And then there are days where it's buckle down and just push through. Other days where it's like sleep in the mud, for tomorrow we stand. And I'm definitely having one of those down days where it's like, let's just recalibrate, think. Every time I go live, my nose itches like crazy. I'm just like, just give me a minute with my nose. Like I need nose time with myself because every time. And I can't tell if it's psychological or not. So everything is different over here. And one of the hardest things that I've had my whole life is trying to explain. If I just talk, and I'll just talk. So my partner's been in a spiritual coma for I don't know how long. And a spiritual coma is when the conscious awareness is awake, but unaware of the energy. So one of you might be feeling it and aware and going through the awakening while the other is not. And the thing is, in May of 2022, we were together and that's when I shifted and I came out in imagination. Like that's when I came out and he recognized me. He looked right at me and his essence, that's what I'm going to call it. His essence recognized me, came out and said, "Oh my God, I have missed you so." And he said it in an accent and in a voice that was not his. Oh, but imagination knew I knew him. And when I heard him speak, it was like a memory that was ancient came back to me. And it was like just seeing me for the first time in God knows how many millennia. It was just, and this moment became this massive milestone of just, I know who you are. By the next morning, he was so terrified by his own spirituality that he completely blocked it off and went into amnesia. And my healing continued. My remembering continued. And I remembered. And but the thing is, as I remembered and I told him everything about who I am and what I am, he didn't blink. He didn't flinch. Just, all right. And there was this one day I sent a letter to his brother to pass on a message like, just an FYI. And I sent the letter and I told him, I said, just so you know, I sent this letter. And probably a month later, I asked him, did you get the letter or did you interfere with it? And he said, oh no. He goes, I haven't seen any letter. No one has. I said, okay. And he confirmed he would never interfere with it. And then about 3 weeks later, he messaged me. So we found that letter and it did get delivered, but we can't figure out how it got delivered. And it was very much a, what did you do? And I said, I put it in the mailbox. I sent it to the house via the mail. I manifested that it would get to your brother. That's all I did. And he said, okay, makes sense. And he didn't flinch. And when I told him what I was and who I am, he didn't flinch. He was like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, he knows. He knows. He knows. And I think he's coming to terms with it in his own time. So I'm going through my growing and my healing. And I'm done with mine. And now I'm just like powering up and shedding this cocoon, and my dragon's like roaming all over the place, and I'm eating avocado. And I'm just I know I'm intense. And I don't hate being intense. I learned how to control it. I had to. And one of the things that I went through when I remembered was all of my stories. And then I was pissed because I'm looking at my stories going, I got my memories. And I'm looking at the stories going, you guys fucked up all of my stories. Now I'm pissed. And I was so fucking pissed. I'm like, what the fuck? My stories are all over there and they're scattered over there. What the fuck have you done with my stories? And I'll talk to some people and they'll sit there and tell me how my stories are. And I'm like, what the fuck do you know? No, it's personal. And then they'll be like, why are you so upset? Because they're my fucking stories. Get it right. Your story, my memory. So I straightened it all out. I wrote a book. It's on my website. With all my stories all straightened out. And I'm like, there you go. All right. Fucking up stories. Giving me 18 different names and 18 different religions. And I'm like, what the fuck? My stories. And then I find this other person. Oh, my kin. And I've got about 5 people around me now who remember. And they all have, they're going through the same thing. They're like, and before we had a chance to talk, like we met. And I'm like, I know you. My essence knows you. What is your name? And they told me their name. And then we had this kind of a conversation. They fucked up my stories. I know, right? And he started telling me, I was so fucking pissed. They put my story over there. And then I know. They fucked up my stories too. Oh, we're pissed. So we sat there for like an hour re-straightening out our stories. And then it's like, and then when you're talking to somebody about it, they try and tell you how your story goes. Like they have any fucking idea. They're just sitting there repeating parroting garbage. And I'm like, I know. So pissy. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break their damn stories and set them right. Because those are my fucking stories. So fuck my stories. I'm goddess of story for a reason. Fucked up my stories. My stories. So that's something that I've been like really upset about. And then they fuck up my logic. Oh, that pisses me really off. They fuck up my stories and then they fuck up my logic. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing with my logic? And then I'm talking to people and they're trying to tell me how they see the world. And I'm like, you're wrong. The logic is wrong. Goddess of logic. I know this shit. The logic is wrong. And I prove it with logic. And then they argue with me. And I'm like, what do you think you're doing? And I'm like, do you have logic to prove this? Well, no, I just feel it. Are you a master at translation and linguistics to translate properly your feelings into actual logical comprehension? No. And then they tell me what they think it is. And I'm like, have you looked up those words? No. Well, then what are you doing? God. So your logic is wrong. Your English is wrong. Your words are wrong. Your linguistics is wrong. You have no science. What the fuck are you doing? Just fucking up my logic. Fucking up my stories. So yeah. And I got to get used to that because that's going to happen a lot. Oh, I was so pissed for a very long time when I found out how much they fucked up my stories. So and then When you're in the abstract, the stories are all backwards because you're in a mirror. Well, so imagine telling a story from behind the mirror. And then you have somebody telling the story inside a box that's filled with mirrors. So you're going to have somebody who's telling the story inside the box, and you're going to have somebody telling the same story on the outside. Now, when I'm telling the story, I am in a room alone with an audience, and I'm telling my story. But when you're inside the box and you're telling your story, it's going to look like you've got X amount of people, mirror images, all repeating back to you. So I'm sitting here going, so I was alone in a room when this happened. Meanwhile, the person in the story that's filled with mirrors all around them, well, I was alone, but there were like so many people there and they kept mocking me. And you're doing the exact same thing, except your perception is different because you're inside a mirror. So you're getting the inside the mirror point of view. Well, that's a problem. That's a big problem. And you don't know you're inside a mirror. And then you got parrots who are just mimicking and mirroring and repeating everything back. And that's it. You're stuck in the mimic mirror repetition response because you're in stage 1 of apprenticeship in a logic loop. So that's what's wrong with the world today. You're all in a mirror inside of a box filled with mirrors, stuck in mimic mirror repetition response while you're all reciprocating everything back to each other in a mirror box. That's what's wrong with you guys. And I'm on the abstract going. So somebody asked me a couple days ago, what's it like watching society from the outside? Well, it looks like you guys are all stuck in a box with a bunch of mirrors on the inside. And you're all stuck in first person point of view inside the dot, stuck in the mimic mirror repetition response on constant replay from your logic loop while you all reciprocate the same mimic mirror response back at each other. But someone somewhere got the wrong crap, and now it's just all fucked up. And I'm watching this going, doo, 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 doo. That's what it feels like. And I just want to go in there with a hammer and break all the mirrors and be like, dudes, you're inside a mirror box. You're in a hall of mirrors. And it's a maze of a hall of mirrors. And you've got a laser pointer that's supposed to represent the truth, but you keep shining it into the mirror and it's now just bouncing all over the place. That's what it feels like. So I step out and I come here and I'm like, oh, thank fucking God, sanity. Because I got truth, I got logic, I got my stories with my memories the right way because it's truth and logic so I can prove it. And I take a massive step back. Sometimes I think things like, you guys just need a role model from the point of comprehension, based off of logic and math and physics and truth. That way you can go, oh, there's the truth. And then you can just sit down and mimic mirror repetition response, the truth. So another part of my brain is going, well, all I got to do is sit on YouTube and just talk. That could be fun. I just got to go here and be hi. I'm going to be saying that for a long time. I just got to be here and go hi. And I think it is that simple. I really think it is that simple. I just got to be here and go hi. And I think that's it. Just narrate the abstract narrative. Abstract narrative. And I think that's it. The abstract narrative. And here's the other thing. The abstract is not scary. God, I have a headache. I never get headaches. Why do I have a headache? I never get headaches. Ever. I tried out vegan. Like I went from vegetarian over to vegan this week. And I'm on the switch. So I'm having hot chocolate with almond milk for the first time in my life. And I'm like, ooh, this is nice. So I feel exhausted. Not exhausted in the sense of, oh my God, I'm so burned out. Exhausted in the sense of, I made it home in the abstract, and there's a storm outside, and I'm going, and I close the door, and I'm worn out, and I'm like, oh, it's so good to be home. I got that feeling going. And I want to just kind of fall down and go to sleep now. And I'm just laying these stepping stones, these healing stones, building a path. And that's just it. I'm just building these stepping stones. So we're on day 3 of these stepping stones. And I love these stepping stones because they do a lot to allow me to just, and I have no idea what this radical global healing plan, I know exactly what it looks like, and I also know what it looks like. So I have okay, we're going to break this down and we're going to go through it strategically. And then I've got a whole lot of non-strategic stuff happening. So I've got the skeleton, and then I've got all right, let's build it up and around. And I'm trying to figure out how much to give you every day, balancing it out. So, and then I have this meditation group. I have no idea how I'm going to do the meditation group. It's basically a spell work class for my light workers to show them how to use logic and physics to actually manifest according to logic and physics. But that's for my light workers. So I don't know what to do with that. And I definitely see meditation, manifestation, mindset all in there. And I'm trying to figure that out. And I've got all this data over here. And see, there's my nose again. I'm just going to put I'm well aware of it. I touch my nose. I hate that I do that, but every goddamn time. And I don't know why. So that being said, one of the things I feel like I'm using words to cut my way through a jungle. There. I feel like I'm using my words to cut my way through a jungle. And I got to hack my way through this jungle with just my words. Boot. And I'm at a point where I'm just like, I have this ability when I say a person's true name, they remember it and they wake up. I've done it a few times now. I'm going, if I can just, and if I know them well enough, I can just, it'll come to me and I'm like, there's your name. And I'll say their name. And then a few days later, they're like, you said my name and I woke up. Yeah, that's right. And I finally found my partner's name. So I spoke it. And I'm like, all right. So now I'm just sitting back. And yeah, I've been looking for that one for a while. And I think it's all timing. It's like, you can't remember this name until it's time for you to remember this day. But then I've got stuff of back when I was over there, before we integrated, and now we've integrated, and now I'm going, well, now I'm she's me. And it's really weird now. And now it's really, really weird when I want to sit there and talk to her because it's me. So it's really weird. The whole thing is just fucking weird. All of this is weird. It's really fucking weird. And then and it's just translating the abstract. Now, I've always had this. Like, usually it's just me in the abstract. La, 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 la. And then I'll read people's books. And I'm like, wow, they're tapped into the abstract. And it's funny when somebody taps into the abstract stream and I'm like, yeah, they figured out the abstract. Authors do it all the time. Rowling did it with Harry Potter. I'm like, oh, she's totally in the abstract. But the question is, do they know they're tapped into the abstract? And the authors will always say the same thing, because I used to do the same thing of, I just followed my intuition. Well, what do you think the intuition is? But pure abstract. Your intuition is tapped right into the abstract. That's all it is. It's literally like a thermometer for the abstract. We're going to take the abstract's temperature today. And it's so funny because you've got spiritual people talking about amateur physics. And then you've got physicists talking about physics. And then you've got me in the abstract, and I'm just sitting there looking at both of them going, come on, guys, figure it out. And I'm just waiting for them to figure it out. And they're getting closer and closer into the abstract. So I see one coming in this way, and I got the other one coming in this way. And I'm like, any day now, guys, come on, you can do it. And then they get here, and the scientists are like, well, this is our data. And I'm like, okay, that's where it's incorrect. And it's literally the material plane is translating the abstract. That's what's wrong, is the material plane is trying to translate abstract. And the scientists are really fucking good at this. Really fucking good at it. They got a couple errors, but they're really fucking good at it. The spiritualists need help, where they're sitting there like, well, this is what we figured out. Right, but that's not going to come into the abstract. That's material plane translation. You have the inside the boxed mirror interpretation of what you think is the abstract, but you're not actually in the abstract to determine this properly. So they're on the outside of the abstract trying to translate the abstract. And I'm like, that's not how it works. So like 80% of what spiritualists have is wrong, and they're going to have to leave it behind. Whereas the scientists, I would say about 15%, depending upon which branch you're looking at, is wrong. So it's really interesting. The religions are the religions. The religions. And it's funny because the great books actually have it right. The great books have it right, but they wrote the great books from inside the abstract. So the authors are right, guys. The authors have it figured out. And based upon who wrote what, when, and where in the abstract, I can tell where they were. So like Nietzsche was at the 6th, but I would say he was at the, Nietzsche was at, I got to think about this. Because there were times where I went, he's in the 6th. And other times where I went, okay, he's definitely in the 7th. Ayn Rand wrote Atlas Shrugged at the 8th. So I'm going, oh yeah, totally. Authors, so it's like a trail. So all the great books are actually right. Shakespeare had it right. Shakespeare had it figured out. Christ had it figured out, but only the words of Christ. The religion is crap. So it's really, really funny to see where everyone was inside the abstract. But no one's actually looking at the great books. And I'm like, what are you doing, guys? Go read Cervantes. Don Quixote had it right. Don Quixote had it. He was at the point of comprehension. So if you actually want to know what the abstract looks like, go read Don Quixote. So it's really fascinating to see where everybody is. And it's all a metric. It's all in relativity to how close they are to the abstract. So it's fascinating to me. And I'm just sitting here going, all right, waiting for you guys to get in here. Come on. And it's exciting. And at the same time, it's like, and here's the thing is people will bring me their stuff like, well, what about this? No, that's not abstract compatible. If it's abstract compatible, it's right. If it's not abstract compatible, it's wrong. Because only truth can be carried from the material to the abstract. Only the truth is right in both worlds. If it's not right in both worlds, it's not going to make it. It's wrong. But you got to be able to transverse into both worlds in order to assess whether or not something is right and wrong. So about 85% of what scientists have can come into the abstract because they've been able to measure the abstract properly from the outside for the most part. But you're looking at something like the great books, they can come all the way in. The great books were written here. And when you take them over there, they still work because they're right. But then you've got spiritualists, and that stuff cannot come over. They are that incorrect. So I got a lot of spiritualists going, well, what about this? Well, what? No, that's not abstract stuff. That stays on the outside. That is material playing language trying to interpret something you know nothing about from the wrong point of view. Not going to work. So they've stalled out. There's like a whole lot of people stuck at the sixth perspective because they won't let go of their spiritualism. It's fascinating. There's something else here, and I can't put by. Oh, yeah, psychologists. They're all the way in the back with religious people. All the way in the back. I'm like, no, go home and do it again. So it's really, really fascinating. Really, really fascinating. Biophysics is here. Oh, biophysics is here. Math is here. Logic is here. Most of the academic disciplines, all the arts are here. All the arts are here. You know what else is here? Cooking. Cooking is here. Cooking, they've got the science figured out for that. So it's really fascinating to see like what can come over and what can't. And it's fascinating. And it's just, can it upstand? And that's it. That's the ultimate test of truth. Can the abstract support it? If the abstract can't support it, it's garbage. It's like the ultimate test of filtering truth. So, and what I'm referring to is this. When you have something, it's metaphorical or it's literal. And if it's metaphorical, then it's composed within the other perspective. But if it's literal, it's composed within the perspective. So Shakespeare wrote his work at the point of comprehension. So it's literal in here. But when you take it out there, it becomes metaphorical. Now, it makes sense in both worlds. However, if you write it over there, then it doesn't work. And if you try and bring it over here, the logic rips it apart and it doesn't withstand it. If it's not logical, the abstract will rip it apart. So you've got this massive, it's amazing. It's like this. So I'm sitting here watching this. And at one point I used to walk into the material plane and try and explain it to me. And I'm like, you know what? Forget it. This is what I'm going to do from now on. If you think you're right, try and bring it into the abstract. Let's see what happens. Let's see if you can walk. When Christ said, quite literally, because he said it from here, you're going to have to leave everything of the worldly possessions behind. He was referring to all that shit you invented in the material plane isn't going to make it here. You're going to have to leave it behind. And that includes your beliefs. That's what he was saying. And he said it from here. So it's really interesting. So people think, oh, that's material possession. No. He is referring to your ideals. He is referring to your concept. Lies do not make it in the abstract. So then I got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit back in the abstract and I'm going to say, you bring it to me. And if you think if it's valid, try and bring it to me. But here's the thing. I'm all the way in the abstract. I'm not coming out anymore. You got to come to me. So you try and get it through the seventh ethic. Let's see how that works for you. Let's just try. Bring those chakra stones with you. This is what I want to see. Bring the chakra energy. Let's see if that'll uphold. And it won't. It won't. It's garbage. It's a translation of the ethical perspectives in that world. So people who are trying to hold on to the chakras are trying to cross through. It won't work. The abstract will rip them apart. And the only thing that it will do is purify the truth part of it, but the rest of it's going to get ripped out. And there is so much crap in those, it's going to get ripped apart because it's not logical. And it's amazing to see people stalling out their growth so they can hang on to their delusions. And it's like, interesting. Okay. And it's just, at the end of the day, if logic cannot support it, it's not going to make it in the abstract. It's like this Harry Potter filter of magic water in Gringotts Bank, that as soon as you pass it in, it just rips all the magic out and you're left with the truth. Yeah. And the thing is, and that's just it. That is it exactly. You think it's good enough? Bring it to me. Let's see if you can. And it's fascinating to me. It's absolutely fascinating. That's how I know what truth is because I'm in the abstract going, yeah, that didn't make it through. That didn't make it through. I know, because when I went through, I had to abandon it because It was a logic of, well, I believe this logically. I didn't have a problem with that. I never had a problem with it. It's literally I want the truth. And this is the secret. You have to prioritize truth, logic, and ethics. Nothing can go above those three things. Not your ego. That has to go down. Learning, your commitment to learn. Learning, truth, logic, ethics. Those have to be your top priority. If you do not have those at your top priority, you're not going to make it through. You're not going to make it through. Your ego will stop you at the door. And then you're going to get stuck in the same perspective stage for the rest of your life. And it's absolutely fascinating. I see so many people who are spiritual get stuck at the sixth ethic. And then they think they're fine until 4 years pass by, a year passes by, and suddenly they're like, oh, I don't know what's wrong. I thought I took care of this. Why did you think you took care of it? When you haven't grown, why do you think you've taken care of it? Stagnation is not growth. That's the danger zone. That's the oasis. Stagnation is a death sentence in disguise. So you've got people who aren't growing, who think they're fine, when in fact they found a pocket of death. We have a term for that in fish world. When you're fishing, there's like this pool of water where fish go that's stagnant. That's where you go fishing, because that's where they are. And it's interesting because humans do the same thing. They'll find this place that's easy and they'll think, oh, this is it. Well, are you growing? See, it's easy if you're growing. You have to have it easy and growing at the same time. And that's it. You have to, it's the growing and the easy that have to be combined. If you're growing and you're easy, okay, you found it. You found it. That's it right there. You have to be learning and growing, and it has to be easy. If you are not doing all three of those things, no, you're lying to yourself. You found yourself an oasis. So it's fascinating. So, and that's the other thing is I've got this just stay put, just stay where you are. And I'm like, but no, just stay where you are. Okay. So now I'm staying where I am and I'm going, oh, they're going to figure it out. So I'm going to teach you logic. That's what I'm going to do in my manifestation meditation mindset class. I'll teach you logic. And then you try and justify it. And that's just it yeah, because your subconscious mind will, and this is it, is there's going to be your self-preservation and your logical code, and they're going to go to war. And that's bottom line. That's it right there. But you've got to prioritize learning, truth, logic, and ethics above anything else. So now your ego is on the line. Now your ego is, so that's it. That's what we call justice. And that's right. I'm in a very much justice day today. I did this, someone did a tarot reading on me, and they pulled my cards and they're like, justice, logic, physics, and wisdom. And I went, yep. So I'm in a justice day. I'm very much in a justice day. And I think that's just where I need to be today. So I don't know. I'm going with the flow. I'm going with what feels right. If it feels right, if it feels good, and if it gives you joy, that's how you know it's right. If it feels right, if it feels good, and if it gives you joy. The other thing that I've got that my intuition is going, this is what you've got to do, is just YouTube, your classroom, okay? And then newsletter, okay? And somewhere in there, I write my books, and I go to my WhatsApp, and that's it. Those are my rounds. YouTube, WhatsApp, newsletter, books. I got Facebook in there. And I'm starting to do Instagram, but I'm still iffy on Instagram. I'm still looking at it going, I'm not sure how I think about that yet. So, yeah. And I'm definitely at a point. I love my down days. I definitely love my down days. So we're going to have 3 classrooms. We're going to have the kindergarten room, and we're going to have the genie bottle. And today's a genie bottle day. That's pretty much what this is. Today is a genie bottle day. And then we have the Discovery Center. The Discovery Center is when we have those really high intense days. So we just did 2 Discovery Center days, and now we're in the genie bottle stage. And this is self-regulation. So I'm going to be teaching you self-regulation through role model as we do this. So kindergarten, genie bottle, Discovery Center. And that's it. Those are the 3 rotations that we're going to do. And it's going to go with when it feels right to me, that's when it is. Does it feel right? Does it feel good? Does it give you joy? Now, in addition to that, I have another little thing that I do at night when I go to sleep. And what I do is I do savoring joy, and then love, and then people. And that's it. Yeah, that is totally his name. That is his name. Holy fucking shit, is that his name? Like every time I write it down, I'm like, oh yeah, laughter. Oh my God, yes. Holy shit. So you have joy, and you have love, and then you have people. And then it's gratitude, and then request. But you've got to make sure your linguistics and your logic and your physics is up to par on that one, because if it's not, you're not going to be able to manifest properly. Linguistics, logic, and physics. Linguistics is key there. All right. That's all I have to say about that. I'm going to go think about life, the universe, and everything now. Thank you. May the kindest of words always find you.